What are the subtle little things that you do with your body that tell people, don't trust that person? That's this morning's topic on Coffee with Colleen. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Colleen. I'm Colleen Hammond. I'm a former on-camera meteorologist for the Weather Channel turned executive image consultant, coach, and mentor. We're talking about body language today. I have a very long course that I teach in body language. I think the important thing to remember about what we're going to talk about today, and I say this all the time, so if you watch me a lot, you know, body language is a sentence. You just can't pluck one word out of the sentence and know what somebody means. It's the same thing with your body language. So what we're going to talk about today are 10 things that are pretty glaring things that when you're in a conversation with someone for the first time, or if they see you across the room for the first time, these are some glaring observations that people make a gut. They don't look and say, oh, they don't identify what you're doing that they don't like, but these are just little subtle subconscious things that you may be doing with your body and not even realizing it. And it tells people you're not trustworthy, you're not likable, you don't like them, you're arrogant, all these tiny little things. Yeah, good morning. Hey, good morning, Joanne. So one of the very first things, and if people think I'm Italian because I talk a lot with my hands, it's really hard because I run into the microphone and then it pops up and it pops down and that type of thing. So, but one of the things to watch out for is wild exaggerations. So one of the things that tells people is you're stretching the truth. So if you think of it that way, you want to maintain, and it's also very a threatening and aggressive type impression, and when people are with you, that your hands are flying all over the place. So it implies that you're stretching the truth unless you're making a point. So if normally you keep your body language very, very minimalized and contained and close to the body, that's a good thing. And then if you're making a point, that's fine. Watch the position of your hands though. If your hands if people can see the palms of your hands, they trust you. Isn't that interesting? So think about it. If you're like, hey, so you have to watch the threateningness of it being too high, but low and open and palms of the hands tells people that you're trustworthy. So be careful with the huge, large gestures all the time. Does anybody do that? Or do you know of anybody that does that? One thing you can do that's very effective that shows the palm of your hand but still makes a point is a karate chop. You're making a point. Good morning, Kim. And the other thing, don't point. Now, if you look at politicians, when politicians make a point, they don't do this. They have their hand so the finger is slightly up, but their thumb is on top of it. And Bill Clinton did that. I swear his hand was like glued like this. He does this all the time. But this is the one way that a politician can make a point without pointing. Do you know what I mean? So don't be threatening and point with your finger. Number 2 is how you position yourself when you're with somebody. So if somebody is talking and you turn, even if you want to cross your legs and there's not enough room to cross your legs under the table, has that ever happened? So you turn to cross your legs over here, you're subconsciously cutting that person off and telling them you want to flee. You want to be away from them. So you're showing, so if you're standing next to somebody, and sometimes if they get too close and they get in your personal space, you'll subconsciously turn sideways to block them off, right? If you can't step any further back. But it tells people you're unengaged, you're not interested, you're uncomfortable with them. Possibly you don't trust them because it's a protective gesture where you're protecting your vital organs, right? This is a protective gesture. You'll see this a lot, especially women tend to do this more often than men, is covering their throat. So if somebody feels very threatened by you, then you'll really know it if they cover their throat. So try to be open with people and even leaning in, being engaged with them and in their conversation and the things that they're having to say. And this tells people that they have your complete focus, your attention, your respect, your, admiration, whatever, that you're really engaged in the things that they're saying. So watch your body language that you're not closing people off. The other way you can do that is with a closed body, is with the arms like this. So there's more than one way to close yourself off from somebody. So there could be the closed arms, the turning away, that type of thing. even if that's what you're comfortable doing. So keep an eye on that for yourself. Number 3 is bad posture. Wow, this one's powerful. They really should have people walking around with books on their head more again, right? Bad posture, slouching, says so many things. Good morning, Lori. Sorry you had a late start this morning. First of all, it's a sign of sloth. It shows people that you don't have an attention to detail. You just don't care. And it's disrespectful. You're subconsciously sending the person a message like, I could care less about you. I don't even have the energy to be like an upright mammal at this point. So it's just so disrespectful. It's showing people that you're bored. You don't have any desire to be where you are. So also subconsciously, we kind of equate size with power and threat. But mostly with power. If you look in the animal kingdom, or, we have new kittens around here. So it's hilarious because they're only a couple of weeks old. And what are they doing? When they kind of hiss. Good morning, Lori. They kind of hiss, but they go, you can barely even hear them hissing. And their claws are all still out. And then they puff up. Right? So animals in the wild, when they want to appear larger and more threatening, all their hair stands out, or like a puffer fish, it just kind of puffs up, right? It looks bigger and more threatening. But subconsciously, it's the same thing with us, where if a person is, that's why taller people tend to do better, because they automatically take up more space. So it's the same thing with your posture. When you're standing up straight, you're taking up more space, and it subconsciously sends the confidence, the impression of confidence, of power, of respect. So you can see why slouching is just the opposite thing. The next one up, number 4, is shifty eyes. You ever been people like, what are you looking at? They're not looking at you, or they're just kind of looking around a lot. They think that this is why, one of the reasons, the Nixon and JFK debate, presidential debate, was the first debate, I believe, that was televised. I'm sure you can correct me if I'm wrong. And one of the reasons that they said that people who listened on the radio felt that Nixon won, that he made better points, he was more presidential. People who watched on television thought that John F. Kennedy won. Part of the reason is because John F. Kennedy is an attractive man, and quite frankly, Nixon is not. And then the other thing is, whenever they did like close-ups, headshots on them, Nixon's eyes were shooting all over the place. He had these shifty eyes. They said he can't be trusted. So he goes way back. I mean, it's just one of those things. Good morning, Amy. So it looks like you have something to hide when your eyes are not focused and you're not engaged. It shows a lack of confidence, a lack of being interested in what the person is talking about, a lack of confidence. But when you engage in eye contact, but without staring somebody down, you come across as confident, you're a leader, you are intelligent, you have nothing to hide. So, and the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? So make sure you maintain that eye contact. Number 5 is going to be intense eye contact. I think we're on number 5. That can appear very aggressive, as a power struggle, like somebody's trying to dominate you and stare you down, right? So too much eye contact, it can be intense and aggressive, and it breaks off relationship. It subconsciously sends a message. So, and then if glancing down is submission, and, so when you break eye contact, and if you're looking down, that says submission. But if you break eye contact and look away, that projects more confidence. So all of this is very subconscious. You may not even realize it. And maybe pointing it out will, go, hey, yeah, good point. I never even thought about it that way. But yeah, when somebody does that, I do feel that way. Number 6, I think we're on. Watching the clock. Checking the watch, checking the phone. All of these are signs of disrespect, impatience, and an inflated ego. I don't have time for you. I'm checking to see what's my next most important thing, because right now I need to get away from you, right? So you're anxious to leave. So anytime you're checking the clock, checking your phone, checking your watch, it shows that you want to break away from this person, that you have far more interesting things to do. Number 7, aggressive nodding. When you're in a conversation with somebody and you share a point of agreement, that's a bonding moment. That's a relationship builder. So you may be excited or overly excited that, oh my gosh, we agree, right? And you're like, oh yeah. So what happens is it sends a dishonest impression that they don't really agree with me. They're trying to agree with me. They're trying to convince themselves, or are they trying to convince me? So again, a lot of this is very subconscious, but like, why are you nodding so much? Why are you agreeing so much? Where in a position where you just kind of like a quick nod, fantastic. That is more of a bonding moment than like having a seizure with your head. Number 8 is fidgeting. I am so guilty of this. I am constantly moving and fixing my clothes and my hair and scratching my head and something's on my nose. I'm a huge fidgeter. And I have to calm down. When I'm in person, it's not, I don't think it's quite as obvious. I don't know, maybe it is. But I am so type A. I'm just like all this energy and I'm going. But tapping your foot, tapping your fingers, playing with a pen, picking at your nails, adjusting your hair constantly. This shows people you're overly anxious, you're self-conscious, you're distracted. It says it's a sign of low self-esteem, especially if you're constantly fixing, things like your nails or your hair or something about your visual appearance. A seizure with your head, that's right. That sends some really negative connotations. So get still, be still. Nail picker, says Beth. Furrowed eyebrows. Ooh. Now, some temperaments do this naturally. Can you guess which temperament does this naturally? Scowl. They generally have an unhappy or blank expression on their face. They've done MRIs while people, so they're scanning the brain while people are observing pictures or interacting with other people type of thing. And the MRIs show that when a person sees another person smiling, it responds favorably to that person and it sticks. It's a lasting impression. First impressions are lasting impressions. But scowling causes people to feel like you're judging them. So when you see somebody that's scowling, you immediately think they're judging you. Yeah, those fidget spinners we've just seen those, Joanne. If scowling shows that you're upset by the people around you, and it may have nothing to do with your mood, but it just sends like a cloud of like what was that Charlie Brown character that always had the dark cloud over his head? Was that Linus? It kind of sends that impression. It's like, ooh, avoid that person. But smiling instantly bonds you with another person. It says you're open, you're trustworthy. I've told this story before about when I got out of the car to run in to check my P.O. box. I was out of my car for like 27 seconds. And I saw a woman sitting there in the parking lot. And I thought, she doesn't belong here. There's something not right. And she smiled at me. And it disarmed me. I ran in, grabbed my mail, came back out. And she had stolen my purse out of my car because I, like a fool, did not lock my car because I am in the country and I knew I was going to be out of the car for 27 seconds. So smiling says that you're open, you're trustworthy, you're honest, and it bonds people to your interest instantly because they think you're friendly, even though you're going to rip them off. All right, number whatever we're on. Weak handshakes. Frequently checking the phones, nail picker, seizure with your head, fidget spinners. Yeah. Pig pen. That's the one. Thank you, Dorothy Louise. Weak handshakes. I have a whole thing that I do. I should put a link to the article I wrote on handshakes. But real briefly, match their grip. You don't want to be a bone crusher and you don't want to be just like a dead fish, right? So you want to match their grip, whatever their grip is. I can go on and on about handshakes, but an overly aggressive handshake is just a bad thing. Good morning, Tina. And just make sure you have a firm handshake and that you match their grip. Getting too close. I don't like when people invade my space. And in Europe, their space bubbles are smaller than ours. So people naturally stand closer to each other in Europe than they do here in the States. I haven't been to Australia, so I can't say for sure. But is Vicky here? I don't see Vicky. So she could tell us. But it makes people uncomfortable when you're in their personal space, when you've breached their bubble. So it's about 18 inches. 18 to 24 inches in the United States is just as close as you can get, right? So just when you're in somebody else's space, it's a sign of aggression. It's a show of lack of respect. Makes people uncomfortable around you. So be careful with those things. So all of these blunders will very subtly, especially if they're combined with each other. If you have a weak handshake, overly aggressive nods, and are in somebody's space, it's like, whoa, baby. And then you add halitosis to that, and it just kind of seals the deal that, nobody likes you. So watch those wild gestures. Make sure you keep yourself open and engaged, fully engaged, squared off with somebody. Don't turn away. Don't close your body off, those types of things. Watch your posture. Make sure that you're standing up nice and tall and straight, and better for your health and your organs as well. Watch your eye contact. Make sure you don't have that shifty eye thing. And don't be like the person that stares somebody else down. Don't be like the creepy, person that kind of stares into someone's eyes. Watching the clock is a bad thing. So maintain eye contact without being creepy. If you're going to break eye contact, you look sideways or up, unless you want to appear submissive, and then you look down. It's very demure. So be careful about watching the clock, checking your phone, those types of things. It just shows people that you're unengaged and disrespectful. The aggressive nodding thing, it looks like you're having a seizure. Too many fidgeting. Too much fidgeting, too much moving around, that type of thing just shows people that you're super anxious, you're self-conscious, that you're hiding something, and you're trying to hide it and you don't want people to see it. Furrowed eyebrows. So make sure you're open, your face is open, your eyebrows are up. If you are an eyebrow furrower, practice that. Sometimes when people make a good point, you go, oh yeah. And you naturally make that furrowed eyebrow thing. So if that's something that you do, make a conscious effort of, if somebody makes a good point, instead of furrowing, widening your eyes. Good point. Instead of, good point. Good point. It's more of a smiling type gesture with your face, and more friendly, trustworthy, more confident. Watch the handshakes, and be careful about people's personal space. Don't get in their bubble. So hopefully these were helpful to you. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to know when I'm uploading new videos, and join us on our live show. We're here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. New York time. That's 9 a.m. Eastern, which is currently, I believe it is 2 p.m. in London and 11 p.m. in Sydney, Australia. So if you go on the world clock thing and join us live on my Facebook page, the link to my Facebook page is below. So have an amazing weekend. This is the weekend for us. And if you're around live, stick around, because we'll continue the conversation. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks.